what we have here is the Kala Tenor Resonator Ukulele. And if you look right here, you'll notice that this is not your average ukulele. In fact, this large brass plate right here is actually the resonator itself. But what actually makes a resonator a resonator? Well, resonators come in several different shapes and sizes across several different instruments. And they were originally created by this guy, John Dopiera, who wanted to create an instrument that could match the volume of brass instruments back in the day before there was any amplification. Along with this, he created an entirely different tone using 3 aluminum spun cones inside of the guitar. This eventually led to the development of a single cone design, which is exactly what this here ukulele uses. So what you have on top here is a brass plate covering a large spun aluminum cone, which is actually the resonator itself. And right in the middle here is what we would call a wooden biscuit. I don't know if you can really see that, but it's right under this little bridge here. And basically the strings are touching this saddle right here, which is touching the biscuit, which is resonating the resonator. So when you play, the strings vibrate the biscuit, which vibrate the resonator. And this sound then travels down through what's called a sound well and bounces all around in the instrument and will mostly come out of these here F-holes, what they're called. And that's pretty much how it works. Now you might notice I'm using some weird red strings here, and you might be wondering why they're red. It also has a low G on it. I definitely prefer to play with the low G I have found. And the strings I'm using here are the Aquila Red String series. Now, these strings are nylon, except they're made with different percentages of metal powder, and, including copper. That's why they are red. And that's going to give you a more metallic, bright sound, and I found that that works exceptionally well with this here resonator. Goes hand in hand with it. But I will have to point out that this instrument did not come with these strings. It came with regular Aquila nylon strings. Those were great and all, and it came with a high G, but I found that these work much more effectively in terms of just raw power. So I've actually had this resonator for quite a while, and I have to say, this thing is awesome. I've been in a lot of jams with this, and I can say it's just been a wonderful time. If you've ever gotten into big jams, you'll know that playing a regular old ukulele, it's gonna get drowned out really easily, depending on the volume of the other instruments, and especially if you don't have amplification, but I've found that this really compensates for the volume. It's just a lovely instrument to have during a big jam, especially if you decide to use a pick. I will say be careful if you're going to use a pick, because what I've noticed is that these strings tend to break a little bit easier, especially the low G. You gotta be careful with that. I would have a few different strings on hand all the time. I don't know why the low G always goes first. I think maybe because it's wound, or I don't know, but I always make sure I have a replacement on hand because it really does sound really beautiful with this. But if you prefer a high G, that's perfectly fine too. They make high G Red String series just as well. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this instrument. Extremely well built, really solid, put together, sounds really beautiful and looks beautiful, and it just works great. I don't really have any complaints with it. I would recommend this if you play with loud groups of people, or you're just not getting the volume out of your normal ukulele, this will definitely increase the volume, especially if you decide to go with these strings. Highly recommended. I just think it just goes hand in hand with this instrument. It really does a great job. I'll link everything in the description. So if you liked the video, then please consider subscribing. That would mean the world to me, and please like the video, and that's it. Bye. Now, if you're interested in learning more about the low G, then I would click this video right here. Yeah, that's good. That's going to tell you a lot about the low G for sure. Oh yeah. I'm serious. Why are you still here? What are you doing? What are you doing?